Good afternoon. It's good to see each one of you. I'd like to recognize our Sterling SGA under the direction of Ms. Monica Kessel today. They're here to learn how not to run a school board meeting. Hopefully not. And we also have Rich Woods, ROTC, under the direction of Colonel Burton, who will be helping us here shortly. Mr. Mikus, if you have a roll call, please.
Mr. Como.
Here.
Ms. May. Here. Mr. Beatty.
Here.
Mr. Hicks.
Here.
Mr. McCoy.
Here.
Mr. Graves.
Here.
Mr. Manley.
Here.
We will have the presentation of colors by Richwood High School, followed by the prayer led by Madison Hackler. If you would like to stand and join with us, please do so.
Present colors.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and for all these men and women who are in front of me, Lord. I pray that you'll just help them to continue to lead all of our schools, and I pray that you'll let us have a great rest of the school year. We love you and thank you for everything that you do. In your name I pray, amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Board, we need approval of the minutes for the October 17th meeting and October 31st meetings.
Also move that we approve.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? While we're talking about discussion, do we have any cards filled out today, Mr. Manley?
Mr. Como, we have no cards at this time.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? No? There is none. Thank you. We need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Also move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The only thing on the agenda, item 1, will be moved to the December meeting due to some information that we needed to have in discussion of that item. So when we get to item 1, it will be omitted. Have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? No? And there is none. Personnel report, Mr. Geis? Yeah, that's nice. We'll move straight on into our business portion of the agenda. Item number 2, financial report for September 30. Ms. Mikus.
Good afternoon, Board. You have in front of you in your packet the financial statement for the period ending September 30th, 2023. This is the end of the third month in our fiscal year. We're ending the period with the fund balance in our general fund of $36.6 million. This is a little bit higher than we ended this month in the prior year. It's at 122%. Of course, we do have additional funds that have been deposited into our account from the state that will be spent during the year, but they sent the deposit all up front, which accounts for the increased fund balance that we're carrying right now. In our District 1 M&O, we're ending the period with $27.5 million. That's right at 100% of exactly where we were this time last year, and we're right on budget for those. I would like to mention, I know we've talked about it before, it will be in our Finance Committee discussions. We're looking at, we had quite a bit of decrease in our student count this year, 300 student decrease. 100 of that was budgeted. So what that translates into dollars is $1.8 million total $600,000 being budgeted and $1.2 million that we will be looking through the budget to identify areas where we can save over what we originally budgeted. If you further break that down, that would translate into 15 teaching positions. Of course, given the student decrease, because our funding originates from student counts, and personnel is where we spend our money, there has to be a correlation there. So just to let you know kind of where we are going into our budget for this year, and that we'll be looking at identifying areas that we can try to get back in line with our budget. I don't anticipate that we're going to randomly cut 1.2 million in the current year. It's most likely that we will end the year with a little bit of a deficit. We do have a fund balance to take care of that, so that's not alarming. Just a reminder, that's why we have that fund balance in place, so we don't have to be reactive. This conversation could be a lot different if we didn't have that fund balance in place as we go through the year.
Ms.
So,
Wilkins,
yes, sir.
one question. I know we talked about taking a look at automating our bus routes. Where are we with that, and what do we anticipate the savings would be if we were able to cut out some routes? Because we have a decrease in student population, so.
Yes, sir, and with the bus routes, as we've discussed before, we've had a decrease in student count over the last 10 years. Our bus routes really haven't changed. We're in the process of setting up the routing software. We hit a few roadblocks along the way. It's a very detailed process that you go through where you have to set up the individual addresses, matching them with the schools and the counts on the buses. We have to map out where we currently are, and that's where we are right now. We just, I know Waylon's talked to y'all about it before, where we had to go back and we had to re-enter some information. Then they were entering in the current routes. And from there, we anticipate being able, once we get that done, then this will pick up a little bit of speed. Now, we don't have a dollar amount because we expect some savings, but I can't say X number of routes, or, we've looked at some that really didn't have a lot of change. We may have had a lot of demographics change in the area.
Correct.
Maybe that school had some growth before it had a decline. But either way, the bus routes that we had at those schools, and of course we started the smaller schools because we're learning the process, didn't show a lot of change, but that was just on one or two schools. We still have
Well,
quite a few
I ask you
today.
that because I know a couple of times, I've seen some buses running some routes, especially in the district where I serve, and some of those buses were just about empty.
Yes, sir, and that's a concern, and that's why we're going through this process. I feel like just like we have some that are running below capacity, we have some that may be running over capacity. And at the very least, this will get our buses where they need to be.
Reverend Coyle, just to follow up on that, I had, yesterday, I had the privilege to meet with several of our bus drivers in one of our little listening groups, and Waylon was in there, and he's not in here today. And he did indicate that the bus routing software would be fully operational before we got out for Christmas. I think, and I'm just going off the top of my head, we've probably already reduced by 7 routes, but even before kicking that in, so we're
Excellent.
working on it.
Because, Mr. Guys, I know we had talked about some new buses as well, so.
Right.
That would affect that.
We've got a big order coming up, we know possibly next year, or the year after, so we certainly want to have this in place to make sure before we commit to 25 buses that are coming out of service, that we need to replace 25 buses before we do that.
Perfect.
Right, so I just wanted to kind of put that on your radar, let you know where we stand with our budget and with our student count and what we'd be looking at as we go through the year.
Ms. Meekins, on the loss of students, 300 that you said we had, and in the past, we've had that loss consistently for several years, and we've always been able to make up the MFP funding from the state, lack of funding because of loss of students through attrition. Is that kind of what we're looking at maybe doing going
Yes.
into next year? That's our plan?
Yes, sir, it'd be through attrition. I don't anticipate, even though 300 is a significant student loss, given that the rate of turnover that we have, the rate of retirement, just through attrition, we should more than be able to make up.
Okay.
Mr. Manley, just following up on a conversation we had in finance last week. You know, Regina and I have had discussions, and we feel like we're gonna be fine with this, but y'all know me well enough to know I'm a little bit more proactive, and so one of the decisions that we decided in finance last week was to create a group to just study our budget and look at things, and I've asked Jason to head that group up, and he'll have a group that's gonna start meeting over the next several months, taking a look at those different types of things, so,
In different, in various and sundry areas,
all across the district.
that would be good.
We,
Excellent.
I think the last time we actually did that, Dr. Weber was superintendent, that was probably around 2010. So it's time to take a
Perfect,
look again.
perfect.
And that'll be coupled with our lean frog report too that we're getting.
That'll help a lot.
That's your report?
That's my report.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Finance Committee, let's see, item number 3, consideration of selection of engineer for parking lot and drainage at Robinson Elementary. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Como, board members, there's a parking lot that we need to have some work done on at Robinson Elementary School. And I'm here to obtain a recommendation for an engineer to do that work for us before we actually put it out for bid.
I talked with Stephen prior to his having surgery, and I think he recommended that we go with Lasservy, and so I would agree with that.
Okay?
Lazenby?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's a motion.
That is a motion.
Okay, have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition, be no? And we have none. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Jones.
Mr. Como. Thank you, board members. I'll pass that information along to Mr. Hemphill.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all make sure your mics are on and pull your mic in. I appreciate you.
Put it down.
Item number 4, Finance Committee report. Mr. Jason Thompson.
Good afternoon, Board. On Monday, November 6th, the Finance Committee met in this very room. There were 4 items on the agenda that we discussed that day. I think you have that paperwork in front of you. Item number 1, Mr. Mark Brown came and gave us a presentation on carbon credits and the benefits of those carbon credits and how they could affect our district positively. He gave about a 15-minute presentation. There were a few questions that were asked about that. There was no action taken at that time, and it was agreed that we would discuss this maybe at a later date. Second on the agenda was a discussion of the suspension of sabbaticals for the 23-24 and 24-25 school years. I think this was just a continuation, as I understand it, of board policy that was passed several years ago, and it was or recommended that day that we continue with that policy as is. Third on the agenda was the financial report for the month ending August 31st by Ms. Meekus, where she made that presentation to the committee. And then finally, and number 4 on the agenda was the discussion of timber proceeds for, I think, 5 tracts of land that are located within the district. And some conversation about, should we cut the timber on that? And then what to do with those proceeds once that took place. So there was discussion about that. It was agreed at that time that that discussion would be tabled to a later date. I think we said December of '23, where the bids would be opened at that time and further discussions could take place at that time. Okay. And that is the finance report. Any questions?
You said December of '23?
Correct. All right. Any further questions?
No question. We have a motion to accept this report.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Board.
Good afternoon.
Excuse me. Policy consideration and approval. Ms. Carrie Ferguson, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Today, we have just one policy revision for your consideration. You have a copy of policy FGF, change orders, which only has 2 changes involving the change order amount and including the respective board members. Mr. Geis will explain further.
Yeah, Board, certainly y'all are aware of the situation we got in. We had a special meeting a couple weeks ago to approve a change order. There was really no policy the board had ever approved that reflected any discretion that the superintendent had at the time to approve change orders. There was not an amount. There was discussion back around 2000, 2001. Mr. Hicks and Mr. Manley in the minutes had requested board approval beyond $10,000, or that was nearly 25 years ago. So I just felt like in my position, I would feel more comfortable having some set policy and direction from the board. Contacted Forethought. They gave some examples other districts are using around the state, and we formulated this. And after talking with the president, vice president, they suggested an amount of $50,000, up to $50,000 the superintendent could approve, with the superintendent reserving the right to bring any amount to the board, even if it's less than $50,000. And certainly with the any change order would have communication with the board members for the district that it represented. So that's just our recommendation to the board, just to give us some guidance.
Any questions? We have a motion to adopt this change order policy.
I
So
so
moved.
move that we adopt this change order policy.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Any opposition? There is none. Thank you, Mr. Blunt, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you, Carrie, for your work on that. I know that was real quick to get all that done, so I appreciate it.
Item number 6, construction and renovation, Mr. Todd Leonard.
Good afternoon, Board. In your package, you'll have several items on construction. The first, I guess we can start with the session press box at Ouachita High School. You can see the pictures that were sent. It's 90% complete. I think they're still waiting on the metal to come in to do the soffit and underneath the roof area. I don't know what the completion date is exactly, but it is moving, because I was there about a month ago.
It's November 27th.
Sorry?
November the
Okay,
22nd,
all right.
7th.
Okay. So it looks like if the metal comes in, I would have think that's gonna happen.
Might make it good.
The next item is the additions at Ouachita High School in the front office area. The pictures that were sent, it says it's 98% complete. They'll do final punch list, fire marshal, et cetera.
Well, it's completed as of the day. We're waiting on the fire marshal to show up, and he hasn't sent us a date yet, but
Good.
it's finished. It looks good.
Ouachita Junior High roof replacement, reconstruction was already performed, and the general contractor is just waiting on materials to be delivered for that to start. TBA had sent a status report over for several schools, starting from elementary, West Ouachita High School, the security upgrades, child nutrition generator, and the Drew Elementary roof. Starting in elementary in West Ouachita, it really hadn't got started good. But you're still waiting on the man trap, several things, punch list, et cetera, that's waiting to come in. Still haven't had a word on when the generator is supposed to come in for the Copeland Electric for the warehouse, and then Drew Elementary roof. The shop drawings are underway, so that'll be starting whenever that gets complete. Starting to middle, I visited the job yesterday, walked around it. I talked to the electrician foreman, who I've known for years, but anyway, I talked to him. They're getting the power, getting panels, getting transformers, et cetera, hooked up. So energy's supposed to come sometime this week, next week, whenever, to get power onto the building. And I think their process, the way he talked, is they're wanting to get conditioned air at some point in the very near future to start finishing, because they just started hanging sheetrock. But like this week, you know, painter's still got to do his job. Everybody's got to move forward after that. So I think Mr. Manley, you was at the meeting on the first. Did you have anything to, Stephen said you might have to have anything to say to that?
Yeah, I appreciate you and Stephen and
Yes, sir.
Rice Gregory's architect staying on top of the project. We're all running behind,
Yeah, it's running behind.
as everyone knows, and we talked to the contractor about that and our concerns associated with that. And we're working with him and Rice and trying to make sure that we're abiding by the contract that we signed.
Yes, sir.
And making sure he's aware that we will be upholding him to the contract. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah.
Just want to add publicly, I know I've done it in the meeting, that we had a potential larger setback for that job with power getting to the site, and Amanda Edge and her team at Energy just jumped through some hoops and got that for us and avoided a much longer delay. So
Right.
just want to publicly thank Energy and Amanda for their work in that.
But
He did
this
say
time, we're
on-
hoping
on-
we can get in there in March. That's kind of the tentative timeline for completion of the school, and we're keeping our fingers crossed on that.
Because he did say on his end, on the main switchgear and all that, that is wired. They're just waiting on the transformer to get there so the Energy can do their part, so, which that'll be good, so. I don't know what all's gotta be hooked up for as conditioned air, but at least they'll have power on the building, so they have a start, so. I don't know if it's in there, but on the sewer plants, it's Central and Calhoun Elementary. Central, they're putting in the lift station. They started that this week or last week. I talked to Scott Coon, a guy that works in maintenance that does that. And EMS, who they hired to start doing all the wiring for all the pumps and stuff, is supposed to start that this week or next week, so that's gonna be starting up on that also. The change order for, there was a couple weeks ago for Richwood High School multipurpose. The brick ledge has been poured for that job. They're just waiting on the brick to come in. Hopefully they'll start that whenever the brick comes in.
On that particular project, first of all, I want to thank the board for supporting the change order at our special call meeting. That was really important to our principal and some of the others there. But Dr. Locke, Stephen, the superintendent, and others have done everything we know how to do to try to get that project.
Get something going, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And they've made comments that the reason is because of the change order. However, we noticed that the project had stopped long before the change order.
Yeah, that's on the outside of the building, so that'll, yeah.
Right, that's on the
So
outside.
that'll have
In addition to that, there's some work that's supposed to have been done
Yes, sir.
on the front of the school. Mr. Geis is aware of it, and that they went and did something a couple of months ago, and nothing has been done.
Mm-hmm.
And the principal has complained that one thing does not affect the other.
That's true.
And so I don't know what we can do.
Yeah, I don't know, I haven't been there, I hadn't been there in a while, to look, I hadn't seen it in a while.
Stephen
so-
was there recently,
Yeah.
and we had a meeting there and at Richwood Middle, and he went over with the contractor
Yes.
and discussed with them, but nothing has transpired. Very little has transpired since then. I'm just hoping that at some point in time, that they'll give that project more attention.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
It needs to be finished, I mean, we
Yes.
just to get in the bad time of the year on weather and whatnot, so.
And I guess one last thing, and I mentioned this, at some point in time, moving forward, I'll probably be talking to the superintendent and to Stephen. There's some other things, especially, and I'm impressed with the press box at Ouachita. But at some point in time, later, I would love to see us address that press box at Richwood High School.
Yeah, it needs some addressing, yes, sir.
It does.
Yes, sir.
And we should, I mentioned it 4 years ago when I first became a board member, and I shared it, I think, with Mr. Dabo and Dr. Coker at that time.
Right.
But of course, his tenure has ended. But I'll be bringing that back at some point in time. Hopefully, we can get some support for that.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna have to do something, that press box, it's rotting down,
It's pretty bad.
it's pretty bad.
And I saw, yeah.
Yeah, Todd and I have already talked about it, and Stephen, we're gonna address it. Remember, we did some things to get us through the season. Season's over. We're gonna go down and look at that.
Yeah, we hate that the season is over for us.
Todd, I'd like to make a comment too, since we have the Sterlington High School Student Council here today, that next month, we're gonna open up the bids for Sturrington High School and the renovation projects we have ongoing out there. And hopefully in a month or so after that, we can see some construction going on. So we're gonna plan on spending the bond money that was appropriated at that school, around $6.7 million. And Diane has been working with our architect, TBA, and they've come up with a good plan. So we're hoping to get that project kicked off and moving forward. So I just want to let y'all know, since you're up here, give y'all some good news for Sturrington High School going forward.
That's when y'all supposed to clap.
I saw the smiles, that was good enough.
And also, one last thing on the Richwood Middle School multipurpose, they had a construction meeting, pre-construction, right, November the 8th.
Yeah.
They gave notice to proceed on the 13th, so they're gonna start dirt work and try to have the pad ready the 1st of December, weather permitting, so, on that multipurpose.
Thank you.
So, for that, so, that's all I have, if y'all got anything.
That's good enough.
Thank you, Ty,
Sir.
for filling in
Thank
for
y'all.
Stephen. Thank you for that report. Mr. Bobby Jones, evaluation of bids.
Come on, board members, in your packet, you should have 3 evaluation of bid tabulations. First one is for RFP 5-24 classroom cameras, and the recommendation is for Video Link. They had the highest point average at 93.67. To be paid for through ESSER funds.
Bob, is that video cameras in every classroom?
Yes, sir, Mr. Manley.
We've already taken care of the buses through another.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Mr. Manley, that project is finishing up in the next, hopefully before the first of the year. We're getting real close on that.
By the time we get to school.
I mean, as far as being installed and operational, most of them are right now, and our schools have been trained on that software and those cameras.
Now, it's my understanding, we'll be able to pinpoint and know exactly where each bus is with that computer route program, is that right?
That's correct.
All right, we have a motion to accept Video Link as the bid for the RFPS 5-24 cameras.
So move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposition? There is none.
Video link.
Next item.
Next item is RFP 9-24 wireless access points, and the recommendation is for Presidio with an average score of 89.
Any discussion on that? Have a motion to accept this bid for wireless access points by Presidio.
Also move that we approve.
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
A motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposition? There is none. Thank
Bob,
you.
educate me a little bit on wireless access points. What are we gonna use those
Manley,
for?
can I defer that to Mr. Miller, who's sitting over there?
That'll be fine. Just a brief, I just need to.
These little deals that are in all the classrooms and all the schools that provide wireless to the Chromebooks and Promethean boards and other network devices. The majority of what we got in the schools is 10 years old. So this will be replacing everyone across the district. So we're up with the latest and greatest technology to help support the Chromebooks and Prometheans and all the devices that's put on the network.
Will it increase our access? I mean, we'll have better access and quicker access?
It should make for better access. We bought enough that we will be able to cover the gymnasiums and cafeterias and things like that we've not had enough devices for. So, that'll be part of this as well.
Okay, appreciate it.
Item number 3.
The last item under evaluation bids is new pavilions and outdoor classrooms. This was for 20 elementary schools and the Richwood Freshman Academy. The budget on that was $3.15 million, and recommend the low bid from Womack and Sons of $2,144,700.
Any discussion on this? We have a motion to accept this bid
I'll make the motion.
and a second.
Second.
All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
It came in way under bid, didn't it?
I think that may,
Way under, didn't it?
I'm sorry, Mr.
Come in
Pratt?
under bid?
Yes, by $1 million.
That's gotta be a record. We had all 3 bids that came in under bid. There's usually one thrown up against the wall, hoping nobody else bids.
Exactly, Mr. Como.
So Bobby, do we have a timeline lined out as to what schools will be first and right
Mr.
on
Manley,
down?
I'm not sure if there is a schedule of who's going first. That would be something Mr. Hemphill may know, but I was not made aware of it. Do you have any idea?
No. I haven't been in any conversation. We'll get with the contractor on that, and if y'all approve this award and go from there.
I also move that we approve.
And we have a second. I
Second.
thought we already did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, thank you.
She made the motion and
You second it.
This is clear as mud on that one, guys. We voted too. All in favor, yes?
we did.
Yes.
No opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Como. Thank you, board members.
Permission to bid item number 11.
Yes, sir. You want to take all these? at
We'll
one
take
time?
all of them at the
Jones,
same time, be less
Before you get
confusion.
started,
Yes, sir.
we need to make a correction on this.
Yes, sir, I've got 2 corrections.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I'll do that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, item number 1, 2924, auditorium seating and curtains, that's supposed to be for Ouachita Junior High School. The funding source for that are Eastside Bonds. Intercom at Swartz Upper Elementary School, that also is with Eastside Bonds. And then we have, WAN and internet access and library books. That contract has run out, so we'll need to redo it.
We have a motion, or is there any discussion on this? Anybody have a question on that? Have a motion to give permission to grant Bobby an opportunity to bid these items for us?
I'll make a motion, we'll accept these, put these out to bid.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposition? There is none.
That's a Ouachita Junior, right?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Jones.
Mr. Como, thank you, board.
Let's see. Our December meeting is scheduled for December 12th. We have Stephen Hemphill home today from surgery. He's doing well. Lance Smith, former principal at George Welch, got home yesterday. He's doing well. He had bypass surgery. A lot of sickness, so yeah, keep that in mind.
Yes, my brother just.
Mr. Geis, have a superintendent's report?
Thank you, Mr. Como. Just wanted to highlight a couple things. We sent out yesterday results from our state testing. We were, encouraged by the results, always looking to improve. This is the 7th consecutive year that our district performance score increased and 23rd consecutive year that we've outperformed the state. 13 parish schools improved. Robinson Elementary was the 3rd highest K-8 school in the state with improvement of 15.5 points. And actually, they were the highest traditional school in the state with that increase. Saw other big jumps at Drew and Lakeshore and others, and just real pleased with those. 13 scores, and you've got some of this in your handout. Tabby did a great job releasing this yesterday, the information. Recorded a progress index of over 90, which included Bowley, Claiborne, George Welch, Drew, Highland, Caroli, Pinecrest, Sterlington Elementary, Sterlington High, Swartz Lower, Swartz Upper, West Ridge, and Woodlawn. 4 schools in the 90th percentile or above of students with disabilities or economically disadvantaged, which was Bowley again, Ouachita High, Sterlington Elementary, and Sterlington High. And then over 50% of our schools are now at A and B schools. So we're pleased with that. Had 7 A schools. I think they're listed there in your thing. Just real pleased that Sterlington's here today. They represent a score of 109. Is it point something, Darlene? I know she's going to know. They're the highest performing school in the district, and we're certainly proud of them. So great to have SGA, like Mr. Como said, and Ms. Cagle here with them today. Appreciate y'all coming. West Ridge and Candace Lockwood from Ouachita Parish High School will be recognized as well. Tomorrow, Ms. Bates at Bowley and 2 of her teachers will accompany me. We're going to Washington, D.C., where they will be recognized Thursday and Friday as a 2023 Blue Ribbon School. So a lot of work went into that, and we've been celebrating it, and it gets culminated with our trip up this week for them to be recognized there. And just one other reminder to the board, because we won't meet again before the Student of the Year luncheon, that is November the 30th at ULM's Bayou Point, beginning at 11:30.